G'day, I'm Paul. New electric cars are coming in thick and fast in Australia, and most of them are from Chinese brands. This time, though, it is from Japanese brand Nissan. It's called the Ariya. This car has been out overseas for donkey's years. I think this was originally revealed in 2020, and then it went on sale in like 2022. It's just been cancelled in the US, so it's finally here in Australia. This is the top spec model. It's called the Evolve E-Force with the 4 instead of the F. This one's priced at just under $72,000, so it's the top spec model. If that is too expensive, the entire range kicks off at around the 56 grand mark. I'm going to be doing a detailed review on this today, so if you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, you've got time codes on the screen. Or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and use the chapters below. Now, on the design front, what do you think about it? Do you think it looks good? I love it in this colour. This colour looks fantastic. Really does turn a lot of heads, and the car itself looks fairly unique. It doesn't look like other Nissan products, and it doesn't sort of look generic, so it stands out on the road. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, but it definitely turns heads, which is, I guess, a good thing. Nissan logo down the front here, a fully blacked out section down here. You've got LED bar just here with headlights up the top, parking sensor nestled in there, and then some aero down the side here as well. Around the side to the wheels, you've got aero covers on these as well, and a fairly low profile tyre there, and a sporty tyre as well. So it's a Dunlop SP Sport Max on a 20-inch alloy wheel. So that is a fairly big wheel. That probably is going to affect the ride, so we'll see how that goes when we go for a spin. You've got piano black wheel arches here. I've said this before, piano black inside the cabin sucks. Piano black on the outside makes absolutely no sense to me because it really just, it doesn't wear very well. You see scratch marks on it, swirl marks, just, yeah, I don't know why they insist on doing that. Piano black here on the wing mirror as well with an indicator built into there. You've got a glass sunroof, privacy glass up the back here, and then come around to the back of the car. Around the back, you've got full LED tail lights that connect up the top there with Nissan behind that Perspex panel. E-Force down the bottom here, and then Ariya off to the side. This has a bit of aero work on the back too, so you can see there it's got a spoiler that helps the air sort of flow down here, and then you've got a wiper on the back there too. Bit of a coupe shape as well if viewed from the side on. It sort of kicks down. It's not really a traditional SUV shape. So let me know what you reckon about the design and the pricing of the Ariya down in the comments section below. Righto, so we're in the Ariya. This is what the key looks like. You've got lock, unlock, boot, Nissan logo up the top, and then blank. It's a proximity sensing key, and then you've got a push button start over here. This interior looks seriously cool. If you have a look at some of the EVs on the market, a lot of them are Chinese EVs. They've really gone to town on giving the interior a premium feel, and I think this ticks that premium feel box. The seats look fantastic. It's got this sort of suede material throughout the cabin. These sort of wood textures here with buttons built in. This center console slides forwards and backwards. So from a design perspective, I think they've really nailed it in terms of making this feel just very premium. So in terms of the touch points, it's nice and soft in the center and soft on the door as well. How soft are they? We've got our durometer. We've tested the main surfaces in this cabin. If you want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, there is a link in the description below. Now, in terms of build quality, what is it like? Well, it's a tiny bit wonky there in the center. I'll show you what the door slam sounds like. Now let's chat infotainment. So you've got two screens, 12.3-inch display here for infotainment and a 12.3-inch display ahead of the driver. You know what they've done here? This is similar to the Kia setup where the screens are next to each other, except they've resisted the urge of putting climate controls here where you can't see them. So they're down here, and I'll touch on those in just a second, but I quite like this layout, and it gives you all the visibility that you need. The main infotainment screen, pretty easy to use, nothing sort of too crazy about it. The other thing I did notice is, it's so hard to explain, but where your finger sits, there's like a gap that much between your finger and the screen. So when you're clicking on stuff, it feels like you're not actually clicking where you need to be clicking. I don't know, it's just, it's really quite strange. Outside of that, it works pretty good. So it's got inbuilt satellite navigation, so you don't need to have a phone paired if you don't want to. On the radio front, you have AM, FM, and DAB digital radio, and it's all sent through a 10-speaker Bose-branded sound system. Then you've got a manual volume control down here as well, and then also the ability to change songs as you go through here. What you would have noticed then is that the fan switched off, and that's because I lightly brushed that. So if you go to do anything, and I mentioned before that I was going to talk about this, but if you go to do anything on any of these buttons or near them, and you accidentally touch any of them, it will just trigger it. So you really don't need to push hard, even though it has haptic feedback, and then it will just switch off. So pretty frustrating, and I think while it looks great, functionally, it's just not very good. Smartphone mirroring, you've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Both of those are wireless, so you can see here, that works really nice and fast. I'll show you what Android Auto looks like. So similar story as CarPlay, full screen, and pretty fine in terms of the way that it works. Screen ahead of the driver, you've got a stack of different displays that you can have running here, from tyre pressure through to navigation and all that sort of stuff. So that's good. And a head-up display in front of the driver. This top spec model also gets a digital rear view mirror as well. And in terms of parking, you've got front and rear parking sensors and a 360 camera. I'll show you what that looks like. Quality is very poor. Like, it's super low resolution, and you would think that, you know, for a new product like this, they would go to a bit more effort than a camera like this that at night time is almost unusable because the quality is so bad. So, yeah. And this is what the horn sounds like. Now let's chat practicality and your connectivity options. So down here, you've got a USB-C and an A port and a 12-volt outlet. You've got a wireless phone charger in here. And that is where the positives end for storage, because I have not seen a poorer use of storage in any car on the road. Look at the size of this whole center console. Yes, it moves backwards and forwards. Great little gimmick, but it appears that the fact that it moves backwards and forwards is the reason there's no room here, because this whole mechanism must be set up so that it can safely move backwards and forwards. And as a result of that, you have no storage. Like, that is the extent of your storage. You've got two cup holders here. You've got this almost completely unusable space down here. You've got no storage down here. You've got these two glove boxes that are pretty much redundant. Like, there's not really much you can put in there. That one is almost entirely consumed by the manual as well. You know, you've got a sunglasses holder, but ultimately, I think that they've completely missed a trick here in terms of practicality, and they could have just done much better in terms of fitting this out for proper storage. Anyway, on the climate control front, you've got dual zone automatic climate control with a heated steering wheel, heated and cooled seats, and then also a heated windscreen as well. You can see the little lines through there, so it means that it demists very quickly in the morning, which is good news. In terms of the comfort front, I spent a fair bit of time driving the car this morning, and yeah, super comfortable. Electric steering adjustment for both tilt and reach, and then electric seat adjustment too, so you can go forwards and backwards. Backrest can go forwards and backwards. You can lift the front of the seat, back of the seat, and then you have lumbar adjustment as well. Passenger seat is also electrically adjustable. And then on our reach test, most of that stuff's easy to reach, but you do have to lean forward to catch anything on this side of the screen. Now, second row. Look at this knee room. There is acres of knee room there, which is great, but no toe room at all. Your toes sort of have to be wedged under that seat there. Headroom is pretty marginal as well. I think my torso is quite short, legs are quite long. I think if you had a bigger torso than I would, you'd be tapping your head on that one. Outside of that, sort of pretty nice place to be seated. Premium feeling seats, and then center armrest there with a couple of cup holders. Heated seats for the second row, USB-C plus air vents as well. And then our window test. Does it go all the way down? So it's auto up and down. Ah, so close. Now, boot. How much stuff can you put in there? Crack this open. So you've got a little under 500 litres of storage. It's not the most versatile space, because if you have a sticky under here, you've got, appears to be a 12-volt battery, and then you've got a subwoofer, and then ahead of that, you've got a little bit of storage space there, tyre repair kit as well, because you don't get a spare, but not a great deal of storage. And if you have a look at what Tesla does with the Model Y, even with the all-wheel drive variants, you still have stacks of room beneath the floor here. And I think that, again, they've just missed a trick here in terms of storage. It just really isn't very well packaged. So I think that is probably something that Nissan could be doing a whole lot better with this car. Now let's talk about battery and charging. So charge ports down the front here, not the most convenient location as I've found. I prefer it at the back because it's just easier to do everything you need to do. But you've got AC and DC charging. So AC charging here on the top spec is 22 kilowatts three-phase, which is a really, really big number, and kind of gives you a good middle ground there, because if you don't want to go to a fast charger and you do have access to a faster AC charger, you're virtually charging at DC speeds anyway, so 22 kilowatts is a good number. DC charging though, on the other hand, not great. So peak of 130 kilowatts, average of 110. So it's going to take you a little while to charge. Battery capacity is around 90 kilowatt hours. So it's a big battery, and coupled with a fairly slow charge rate, means it will take a little while to get this thing fully charged. WLTP driving range is about 450 kilometres, so again, not amazing for a vehicle this size. Now the battery chemistry is lithium ion, so if you do want to find out more about what all of that means, if it makes no sense to you, we've actually shot an EV Explain video, which you can click up there to watch, and it'll run you through exactly how all of that stuff works. Righto, we've just hit the road in the Ariya. Let's kick off with what is powering this thing. So I mentioned earlier the battery capacity, but this uses a twin motor setup. So there's, depending on which variant you go for, you can either have single motor or twin motor here in the top spec setup. So that means a motor on the front axle, motor on the rear axle, 160 kilowatts apiece for a combined output of 600 newton meters of torque. So nice and healthy amount there, and it means that when you jump on the throttle, this thing absolutely moves. So depending on which drive mode you're in, it'll feel sharper or less sharper, but regardless of which drive mode you're in, there is a kick down switch. So if you do nail the throttle and hit the kick down switch, it gives you a really nice punch in the back. So it's quite impressive from that standpoint. Now let's talk about economy. This is the thing that's a little less impressive. Now I would have thought, just prefacing this, that Nissan it has been making electric cars now for such a long time. In fact, the Japanese, you think back to stuff like the Mitsubishi i-MiEV, these guys have been doing electric cars for ages, so you'd think that they would be totally on top of economy and extracting as much as they possibly can out of an electric drivetrain. This just seems to be using a huge amount of electricity, so it's over 20 kilowatt hours per 100 Ks. That's based on my drive here this morning, which was maybe 3 hours worth of driving, predominantly highway driving, which yes, does consume a bit more in an electric car, but ultimately, if you do this same drive in a Model Y, which is what I did a couple of weeks ago, it was closer to the 16 or 17 kilowatt hour per 100 K mark. So it is a pretty high number, and it's something that you've got to think about, because it's going to mean that this really only has a realistic driving range of about sort of 350 or 400 kilometres maximum. And that could dissuade some people from buying one, especially if they're going to load it up with people and do regular highway trips. Now here's a confusing one for you. You've got D mode, which sort of doesn't really slow down much. B mode, which slows down more. And then you've got E pedal, which will actually actuate the brake pedal. I can see the brake pedal moving as the car slows down. Problem with the E pedal is, you'll see here, it slows down to like, 15, 12 Ks an hour, and then it just doesn't slow down anymore. And I find that really bizarre, because in something like a Model Y, it will come to a complete stop. That is a weird one to me. Now let's talk about the ride. Yeah, it's not great. The ride is really firm, but floaty at the same time. It's really strange how they've managed to get the worst of both ends there. So it is firmer than what it needs to be, which is typically what they do with electric cars to make them not sort of overly floaty, but then it gets float when it's going around corners and stuff. It's a really sort of hard thing to explain. But we'll jack up the speed now to 130 Ks an hour for our sine wave. We do this at 130 being the maximum speed limit in Australia, and the same in all cars. So that's interesting. Across these sine waves, it's excellent. It actually feels really nicely controlled, but you pay the cost of that with a ride that is really firm around town. And then when you start sort of trying to go through some corners, it starts feeling just a bit floaty and not overly resolved. So I think the ride is definitely something they could improve. Okay, we've got our super bumpy road here. We do this at 90 Ks an hour. Gives us an indication of what this is like if you're going to head out to the country. So this is really strange. Even though the ride is firm, it doesn't feel too firm on this surface. Here's our condensed sine wave. I think what they've done here is they've gone for a firmer spring rate, but a softer damper. And it means that when you're on this type of road, it's actually not that bad, but when you're on just a normal road in and around town, it just feels really busy and overactive. So yeah, it's just a really strange combo for this style of car. Now let's talk about drive modes. You've got standard, and you change them all here using this haptic touch system. Snow, Eco, Standard. pop it over to sport mode. We'll do a lap of the ride and handling track. We do this in all cars to test their handling limits and to see how they perform. This isn't really a sports car. They do actually do a Nismo version of this. But I'll be curious to see what this feels like. So yeah, there's that body roll. It actually is somewhat sort of dynamic. The stability control sort of biting a fair bit there, but you know, once it's leaned into the corner and you just roll onto the throttle, it actually gets out of there pretty nicely, and it's got plenty of punch as well. So steering gets very heavy in sport mode, but still surprisingly has okay steering feel. Yeah, it's just that initial sort of lean in until it's settled that it feels a bit floaty, but it sort of gets up and moves surprisingly well. I haven't actually read up on the Nismo, so I'm not entirely sure whether that is performance and ride enhancements, or whether it's just a styling kit like it is in some of the Nissan products. But this thing's hoofing along pretty nicely. Let's see what it does on the back straight here if I give that a punch. Nice, it's moving along pretty nicely. Yeah, it's surprising. So, you know, it is a firmer ride, but the benefit is that it is actually pretty sporty once you start to pick it into some corners. Definitely nothing like a Nissan Leaf. Now, in terms of road noise, that's something else you notice as well. You get a bit of road noise inside the cabin. They've done a lot of work to sort of deaden the noise, but it doesn't feel as impressive as something like a Model Y. And I think a lot of that comes down to the sporty tyres. The SP Sport Max tyres are sort of on the sportier edge of tyres, and that is going to introduce a bit of noise inside the cabin, 20-inch alloy wheels, that kind of thing. So we did put it up against our calibrated sound meter, and you can see the results on the screen there. If you do want to compare this to other cars that we've driven before, there is a link in the description below. Now, in terms of visibility, I can see clearly down the front there. Wing mirrors are good. Love this as well, digital rear view mirror, so it means that you're not going to be compromised looking out the back, and it's pretty straightforward in terms of parking as well. Okay, so let's do some semi-autonomous testing. We do this on our bowl using the 3 outer lanes at 70 clicks. So I'm going to flick that on, 70. All right, it is active. So all good here in the first lane, holding us nice and centre there. I'll jump over to the next one. Wait for that to come on. Still waiting. Still waiting. All right, there it is. Took ages to activate. Yeah, it seems to be fine here, which is good. All right, try the outermost lane. Yeah, it took a while there to activate, so we'll see what happens here on the top lane. See if it takes as long, or if it even activates at all. Waiting, waiting, waiting. No, doesn't look like it's going to activate. All right, so pass in lane 1, sort of took forever in lane 2. It seems to be good, I think, as long as it activates and it's ready to work. Okay, time to do a little bit of performance testing. So Nissan claims a 0 to 100 time of just over 5 seconds. So let's see how this goes. Fortunately, battery is fairly low, 29%. So I don't know how quick the time's going to be, but we'll see how we go. So we're going to go all the way through to 120, so we can get our 80 to 120 overtaking time as well. So here we pop it into sport first. All right, here we go. A bit slow off the line there. Let's see if there's like a launch control or something if we're not getting anywhere near the time. All right, because it just doesn't feel too sharp off the line. I had it in like a brake hold mode. So 0 to 100, 5.69 seconds. So I think that's pretty much the claim. It just seems to me like you could, you know, if I put this back into there. Oh, that's better. If you actually brake boost, it seems to take off fast. We'll go do that one more time and then I'll compare the numbers. Okay, do that one more time and just see if it's any better. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, it felt marginally better. there's 120. It picks up and moves. That's the thing. It's almost like they could calibrate it to be much harder off the line there, and it would probably slingshot it, but let's have a look. So 0 to 100 that time, 5.71, so pretty much the exact same. Anyway, all right, 80 to 120, 3.07. Now that's a healthy figure, because it means that if you are doing the overtake, 3.07 is how long it's going to take you to sort of do that overtaking manoeuvre, and that is pretty quick for a vehicle this size. Okay, time to do a stop from 100 to see what the brake and tyre package is like. Alrighty, here we go. Alright, felt pretty solid. It was wet out here before as well, so it has dried up a bit now, but just keep that in the back of your mind. Okay, so 2.75 seconds and 38.5 metres. So pretty decent number there. Anything between 35 and 40 is good. If you want to see how this compares to other cars we've tested before, have a look at the link in the description where we store all of our data. All right, how quick does it go in reverse? Here we go. All right. That is 49, 50 kilometres an hour. So, Nissan Ariya, what do I reckon? Should you buy it? Look, I think there are better buys in this segment. It really is let down by the ride and the interior packaging. I think if this was a family car for me, I just wouldn't have anywhere to put my stuff there in the centre. I just think that is such a poor use of space, and the ride is just way too firm. So I think they really need to look at those two things. This should be due for a facelift of some sort pretty soon as well. So hopefully that is something they can address. Pricing is pretty good. I don't see anything wrong with the pricing, and hopefully the efficiency can improve as well as part of that facelift too. Outside of those things, it presents really nicely inside and looks pretty cool as well in my opinion. So let me know what you reckon in the comments section below. Given Nissan's new big warranty here in Australia, would you be leaning towards something like this? Keen to see what you think. If you did buy one, let me know what it's like as well. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. But till next time, take it easy.